This morning I get to introduce our guest speaker, the Reverend Dr. Sara Bonfig. Dr. Sara has been a student of metaphysics in some way her entire life, but in 2001 she was introduced to religious science, and that, as they say, is the rest is history. While taking many spiritual courses and working toward her ministerial and doctoral studies credentials, Dr. Sara also was working in an administrative and financial capacity at the Creative Living Fellowship in Phoenix. She also assisted with, created, co-created, facilitated numerous workshops, retreats, conferences, and events, and has served on the Anton Conference Planning Committee, as well as presenting at the Anton Conference. For those of you planning to attend her workshop this afternoon, you'll have the opportunity to get to know her better as a teacher and as an all-around wonderful friend and loving individual. Please welcome today's speaker, the Honorable Reverend Dr. Sara Bonfig.
Thank you for that introduction. Good morning. Good morning. The year is 1869, and there's a young man from Boston who gets caught up in the fervor of the California gold rush. He sells all of his possessions and heads west to prospect for gold. Day after day, he's out in the river, searching for these giant nuggets of gold that he has heard about that will make him wealthy. And day after day, he winds up with a giant pile of rocks and no nuggets of gold. One day, an experienced old prospector comes by and says to the young man, "That's quite a pile of rocks you've got going here there." And the discouraged young man sort of hangs his head and he says, "Yeah, but there's no gold. I am about to give up and go back home." The experienced prospector says, "Oh, but there is gold, all right. You just have to know how to find it." He picks up 2 rocks off of the young man's pile, smashes them together to break them open, and inside of that rock are thousands of flecks of gold, sparkling in the sunlight. Now, noticing this bulging leather pouch on this old prospector's chest that he's wearing around his neck, the young man, again, still discouraged, says, "Yeah, but I'm looking for those large nuggets of gold like the ones you have in your pouch. Not all of these little flecks." The old prospector extends his pouch to the young man, who looks inside, expecting to see large nuggets of gold. And what do you think he finds? Thousands and thousands and thousands of little gold specks, right? The old prospector said, "Son, it seems to me that you are so busy looking for larger nuggets that you are missing filling your pouch with precious flecks of gold. The patient accumulation of all of these flecks of gold has brought me great wealth." How many of us are like the young man? Right? Yeah, I see a few heads, I see a few hands. Right, we've been there. I like this story because of the points that it illustrates, and we're going to come back to it during the course of this morning. Now, I know that during the month of May, you've been studying your prosperity journey and the season of abundance. You've looked at discovering your path, Soul choices leading you sometimes to that path or off of the path you thought you were supposed to be on, right? Right into a journey of change, which we get to roll with, as we heard this morning. And today we're going to explore embracing your bliss. And what exactly is bliss? And as Tina Turner might say, what does bliss have to do with it anyway? Now I will ask questions, and I do expect, this is the disclosure, that you will respond, okay? Yes, thank you. All right, so let's start by defining prosperity. What does prosperity mean to you? Let's just make sure we're all on the same page this morning as we dive in. Who has a wonderful definition of prosperity they would like to share?
Unconditional love.
Unconditional love.
Everything you need is there.
Everything you need is there.
Having enough to meet your needs.
Having enough to meet your needs. Everyone agree with all of these?
Real people.
Real people. Anything we want to add? Contentment. That sounds good with me. We can work with that, right? Yes. Prosperity is more than just the nuggets of gold, right? Now, what about bliss? What does that one mean?
Dark chocolate.
Dark chocolate. There's a woman after my own heart. That's what I forgot this morning, the chocolate candies. Shoot. Okay. Outside of dark chocolate, yes, way back.
I'd say joy and purpose.
Joy and purpose. Joy and purpose.
Peaceful contentment.
Peaceful contentment. I'm liking these.
Vibration.
Vibration.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Now I'm assuming that oh my God is a really good oh my God, right? Not the oh my, right? Okay, yes. It's all about the vibration that goes into that oh my God, right? Okay. So we can work with that definition of bliss? Okay, good. So oftentimes, like I said, we are that young man looking for that vibration, looking for that nugget in some external fashion. The ego, right, is what keeps us looking for that wealth, looking for some form of prosperity to strike it rich and magically change our experience. We have all of these experiences, just like this young man in this pile of rocks, and we don't realize the value within them. And the wise old prospector comes along, he provides some guidance for the young man, and yet the young man is still impatient, wanting those larger nuggets. Have we ever had that happen? Right? We have some teachers come along, kind of point us, gently nudge us, sometimes push us off the cliff, and we still want to resist. Yeah, but? Yeah, but? He wants his wealth now. And I know that there are probably those of you, just like myself, who have wanted that change to look the way I want it to look and want it now. Right? The ego is what keeps us distracted, keeps us from recognizing and valuing our inherent worth. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to have a delay coming into Denver with the weather. I live in Phoenix. I often forget that there is weather in other parts of the country. I'm like, I see my friends post on Facebook that they're sitting on the tarmac in Phoenix because Denver International is closed, and I'm looking at the clock thinking, I'm supposed to head that way in about 10 minutes. To the airport, that is. I said, what's going on in Phoenix? I mean, in Denver. They're like, tornado warnings. I call Carla. Carla, I'm gonna be late. Text message from Southwest, and your flight is delayed. Took advantage of that, right? Instead of being upset about it, take advantage of the extra time. And I came across this poem from a book called The Wisdom of Ernest Shartliff Holmes. And it's called Yourself. O weary heart, laden with earth's weight and care, Oh, feet stumbling on the way, bleeding and bare. Oh, arms outstretched and hands upheld in prayer. Oh, back which so oft has felt the lash and the rod. Oh, soul which cries aloud for the living God. Oh, life struggling to free itself from the clod. Know this, there is no power from without. Yourself must answer every fear and meet all doubt with some divine indwelling power which you yourself, upon yourself, shall shower, and giving take, and taking give, unto that life which you yourself shall live. So what is Ernest really saying there? Something I think we're all familiar with if we've been around these teachings for any length of time, even a short period of time. And that is the power and the presence of God resides within, right? And as I was thinking about this idea of embracing your bliss, I had a couple of thoughts. One, what does it mean to embrace? All right, this is the experiential portion of the service. If you're willing and able, please stand up. Turn to someone next to you and offer an embrace. That could be a hug or a handshake. Like, okay, you may sit down. Thank you for participating. Now, what did you notice? There was a level of trust. What else did you notice? There was a connection. It was fun.
Smile.
There was a smile. There was something else. You opened up. But what else? There was a give and take, right? There was an exchange. A giving and a receiving. You didn't give without receiving. And you didn't receive without giving. Right? So embracing our bliss. Now what does bliss mean? Now I love the definition that we came up with earlier, but what came to mind for me, and I like acronyms, my brain thinks in acronyms at times, it also thinks in music, and I will spontaneously take something someone said and burst into song. I won't do that this morning though. Having embraced my inner singer. But bliss, for me, means being love in spirit service. Right? Being love in spirit service. Because isn't that really what we're here to be? Is love in service of spirit? In his essay, The Oversoul, Ralph Waldo Emerson writes, "Meantime, within man is the soul of the whole, the wise silence, the universal beauty to which every part and particle is equally related, the eternal one." Emerson is beautifully stating how we are all eternally connected to the source. It flows through us and it lives as us. As he elaborates, he talks about man as the organ of the soul, the organ of the divine. Over and over in his essays, he uses this metaphor. And that the reason we are here is that the soul had need of an organ here. Now think of this. Just as our bodies have organs, our heart, our lungs, our kidneys, our brains, our skin, the organs do not exist in and of themselves, correct? They are part of a whole. Now take this metaphor and think about what that means for us. We are organs of a whole. We do not exist in and of ourselves. We exist as part of a divine tapestry, if you will. Connected to and part of a creative intelligence behind all things. And we are here in service of that. As we said, universal in the spiritual principles of life, we experience that bliss and that joy, right? Just as when our organs and our cells live in harmony, we experience a physically healthy body. And when we're out of balance, we have other experiences, right? Albert Schweitzer said, "I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know is the only ones among you who will be really happy are those who have sought and found how to serve." The book of Ephesians tells us that we are God's handiwork, here to bring good and beautiful things to the world. And in the book of Romans 14:9, let us all pursue the things that make for peace and for the building up of one another. And I believe this one is from Mother Teresa, not exact, so don't quote it. Said, "We do not need to do great things, but rather small things with great love." So this idea of service is not a new concept. It's something that has existed throughout time. I'm going to share with you 4 very versatile keys that I learned a few years back while traveling to the Middle East. And I have found that these apply in a number of areas of my life. And I think that they fit as well this morning with this idea of being in loving service. I think it was about 6 years ago now, I had the opportunity to go to Dubai. Now, I like to travel, and I have a bucket list of places I would like to go, but I will honestly tell you that the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates, was nowhere even close to being on that list. As a matter of fact, I can't even tell you that I never heard of it before I got asked to go. Like, no, what? My mom, when I was going to Dubai and Abu Dhabi, said, "Abu where?" Not on my list, not on my radar. Inevitably, we are called at some point in our lives to stretch. Are we not? Life is circular, it's a spiral, it's evolution. We grow, we change. And these opportunities, these experiences, these piles of rocks call to us, and we have the choice to answer or to not answer. So the first key is willingness. You experienced that just a little bit ago when I asked you to stand, and if you were willing, participate in the grace. Our part is to be ready and willing to be guided into truth and liberty. It's in the Science of Mind textbook. To be willing to be guided. And in living the science of mind, spiritual power awaits our recognition and divine guidance our consent. 1, be willing. Once we're willing, then we give our consent. To me, that means, second key, permission. What can I possibly mean by giving permission? And I don't just mean giving a permission slip to walk down the hall in school and skip class. Right? It's permission to release the expectations of what you think an experience should be like. Right? Our prospector friend, our young man, had an expectation he was going to find nuggets of gold. I wasn't sure what I was going to find, and I really tried to go with no expectations. The first night I was there, my friend that I was there with, he was working over there, and he wanted to take me to his favorite restaurant for dinner. And he had asked me if I liked fish, seafood, and I had said yes. And that was about all I knew. In my mind, being the Midwest American girl that I am, I had sort of this Hollywood-esque kind of picture, right? Table on the deck by the ocean, because it was supposed to be down by the ocean. Thinking white linen tablecloths, maybe an herb-crusted fillet, some steamed vegetables, lovely evening out, ocean breeze. I'm seeing some heads nod, you can see the same picture, right? So we're driving to the restaurant, and I'm I'm in my jet lag stupor, and he's talking, and all of a sudden, a couple of words caught my attention. One, something about goats. Two, something about the heads of the fish. And I said, "What did you just say?" And he looks at me, and I could see that he had some concern. And he goes, "You do eat fish with its head still on, right?" Now, I grew up in Minnesota. My dad fished a lot, but he always made sure that fish was headless and clean before it ended up on my plate. So it was not staring at me. And I'm looking at him with this look on my face like, "What are you talking about? My fish is going to have its head still on it?" He wanted to immediately go somewhere else. I struck up a deal and I said, "Look, I will go. This is your favorite place. I want to experience it. I may not like it. And if you're okay with that, I'm okay with that. Give yourself permission. Release the expectation of what something is going to be." Science of my textbook tells us that nothing is real to us unless we make it real. Nothing can touch us unless we let it touch us. So refuse to have your feelings hurt and release the expectation. Permission leads us to the third key, which is be present. Irene gave us a beautiful reading this morning, all about being here now. Be present in the present moment, right? I had to let go of my Hollywood picture and be present to what was. You have the authority and the power to revoke the power and the meaning of any experience, as well as to give meaning to every experience. And in the moment that you do that, you make that agreement. As we arrived at this restaurant, there was a construction trailer type building, if you will, a big dirt lot with plastic tables and chairs where people were sitting, a sign that said Bukutar Cafeteria, a concrete wall between where the oceanfront view and the ocean were supposed to be, and some goats next door, and some cats running around, right? We walk into this trailer and up to the window to place our order, where the piles of the day's catch were there marinating in their spices and their herbs and sauces. And my friend proceeds to order by pointing at what we're going to have. And then we go out and sit on a couple of milk crates while we wait. I am listening to the goats next door serenade us. I am watching the cats run around looking for handouts, watching the people come and go. This place is very popular, believe it or not. It was hopping. And I simply had to be present to that experience. We get called over to our table as the man pulls an extra plastic table and chairs from behind the building and sets it out on the dirt yard, if you will. I don't know if it's really called a yard. And then comes out with our food, where the giant fish is placed in the middle of the table. My friend proceeds to peel back the skin and cover the head and show me how to use my fingers as a pincher to eat, because there was no silverware. In that moment, and as soon as I tried that fish, oh my God, it was good. That was probably just, oh my God, the best fish meal I've ever had, right? I had completely transformed that experience by changing the way that I thought about it. Our outlook on life must be transformed by the renewing of the mind, and even when the results are not immediately forthcoming, we must still maintain a calm serenity of thought. Ernest writes in The Science of Mind. And leading right into the fourth key is being grateful. As I experienced that meal, I saw the joy radiating from my friend's face because he loved it as much as I did. And I was completely grateful to be there on this hot, humid night with these goats and these cats and this fish, eating with my fingers. It was finger looking good, by the way. But I was so grateful to be in that experience. Ernest writes, "In everything give thanks. An attitude of gratitude is most salutary and bespeaks the realization that we are now in heaven. How we love to do for those who cooperate with and are grateful for our small endeavors. Gratitude is one of the chief graces of human existence and is crowned in heaven with a consciousness of unity." Four keys. Now, what do those four keys have to do with embracing our bliss, right? Well, the world is our kaleidoscope, and the varying combinations of colors and patterns it presents allow us the opportunity to examine our thoughts, our actions, and our way of being in the world. Life, as Unity Minister Eric Butterworth writes, is for growing and unfolding, for experiencing a deeper and deeper awareness of the isness of God. Ernest Holmes puts it this way: "We do not will this presence into existence, nor do we by declaration, affirmation, or demand command it. We do not court it through false humility, nor engage its attention or admiration. The presence, the power is already there. It is willingness, acceptance," I look at that as permission and being present, "and recognition, gratitude, which give entrance to the divine presence." There's an African philosophy known as Ubuntu. Have you heard of this? Anyone familiar with Ubuntu? Well, very quickly, it means humanity. And just as Namaste refers to the God in me, honors and recognizes the God in you, or the Spirit in you, Ubuntu essentially means I am through you, and you are through me. To the extent that we are estranged from another person, we are less than human. Being in this world is a community event, and every day, in numerous ways, there's an opportunity to serve. To embrace your bliss by being in loving service, or perhaps in selfless service, a little less selfless service. So how is this Dubai story? Embracing my bliss? Well, not only did those four keys help make that a very memorable experience, and obviously I've taken some lessons from that experience, it also serves as I continue to teach. Right? We don't often see the experiences that we have and where they're going to take us. Just like the nuggets of gold, we often look for opportunities to serve in a way that we think is big. Perhaps serving in the military is a big, visible way to serve, and we thank those who do serve and protect our freedoms. But just offering a smile, offering a compliment, offering the recognition of someone's divinity is a way to be of service in the world. Rabindranath Tagore, I'm not sure if I said that correctly, he says, "I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted, and behold, service was joy." So my friends, my invitation to you this morning is to look, to be willing, look for ways to be the living, loving spirit that you are in this world, and to be of service to that divine organ. The world needs your light, and as my good friend who is no longer with us, Jared Shazo, says, we are all perfection, expressed in an imperfect way. We can choose to focus on each other's imperfection and suppress the perfection, or we can choose to focus on each other's perfection and support its unfoldment. So as you go forth, support the world's unfoldment. It needs your blessing.